Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at and an unboxing of a new Doctor Who TARDIS figure. Hey guys, now when I was introduced to Doctor Who, it was back in the 70s, and that was when Tom Baker was the Doctor, and so he was my first Doctor, so he's the one I love. But my first regeneration was Peter Davison. Now, I'd been picking up, my first introduction to Doctor Who was not on TV, but was actually in the Marvel Comics and Marvel Premiere. And I picked it up at my local drugstore. I had to be like in 6th or 7th grade. And my neighbor, when I picked it up, I was like, man, I really love this. It's really creative. It's really different. And he's like, oh, wow, that's on PBS. And I'm like, what? And so here in North Carolina, it was on PBS. And he's like, it's on like at 11 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night. It's on when the news is on. But it's on PBS. And I was like, oh my God. So I started watching it. And the first show I saw was Stones of Blood with Tom Baker. So that was the first time I got to see him live. But in the first issue of Marvel Premiere that he was in, it had all this history of Doctor Who. It had some great pinups by Dave Cockrum. It had some really cool stuff in it. So from then on, I've been a Doctor Who fan, but I've never owned a TARDIS. And this year, I saw that this had come up when I was looking through, making a Christmas list for the fam. I was looking through and I saw that this was only like 22 bucks. And so I put it on the Christmas list. Guess what? Didn't get it. just like anything you collector guys know. But I got plenty of other stuff, but I didn't get this. So I did get some Amazon cash, so I picked it up. And we're going to open it up and see what Peter Davison here looks like. Now, Peter Davison, like I said, was my first regeneration. So I was excited to see Peter Davison, and I was excited to see him in the show. And then he was only there like 3 years and gone. And so we were like a year behind over here. So by the time I heard he was starting, it was almost like a year later, they were saying Colin Baker was starting. So I was like, okay. And I was excited for that regeneration too. And I still like Colin Baker as the Doctor. So, you know, I've continued to like them as they go. Some of them get like really a short stick as far as the stories. I think Jodie Whittaker right now, although I'm not super thrilled that the Doctor's a woman, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that. He's an alien, or they're aliens. So I'm okay with that. Not really got to the timeless child yet, but I know that's something that everybody hates. So I'm looking forward to getting to that part. But, you know, some of the Doctors don't get really good stories. I loved Peter Capaldi. He got crap stories. There was one Doctor Who story that I saw, which was where he met Robin Hood. And that was the only Doctor Who story that Peter Capaldi had that I could see every other Doctor it happening to. It could have been William Hartnell. It could have been Peter Davison. It could have been Tom Baker. It could have been Colin Baker. It could have been any of those guys. Sylvester McCoy. I was kind of out of the fringe by Sylvester McCoy's time. I was in college. And then I saw the TV movie, and then Doctor Who kissed somebody in that. And I was like, not terribly happy with that. But, you know, it was a TV movie. What are you going to do? Eric Roberts was in it. Oh, my God. So that's how cheesy it was. But anyway, we're going to unbox this bad boy and see what it looks like, because I've never had a TARDIS, and I know this is the cheap range. This is the one that doesn't do the flight control or all of that stuff, so we're going to take a look. Okay, we're going to start right off by opening this. I will say that I have previously unlocked it because it was quite a bit of a mess to get out. But if you look at it, it's pretty nice. It says the fifth Doctor and his TARDIS from The Visitation, which I do remember the story. I didn't think it was all that, but like we said, sometimes you get good stories, sometimes you don't. But this is their cheap range. I've heard some of the British guys really bashing these because they've had the expensive ones with the flight control TARDIS, and so they're not happy with it. But anyway, you've got the Doctor, and you've got him and his TARDIS in this lovely woodland setting from The Visitation. I know a lot of people are apparently keeping those and displaying them that way, but this bad boy is just going up on the shelf like it is. Okay, so we got the TARDIS out. We'll sit it down. We'll sit it up there for right now. Always flying that TARDIS. Let's see if we can dig Mr. Davison out of here. And there we go. We popped him right out. And we will sit this down as well. And there you see Peter Davison, and he's got the Panama hat on, which he wore, I think, twice. You always saw him folding it up. But the figures are nice. I had bought, when the first line of these came out, I had bought the Cyberman, and I just really liked Cyberman. That was when David Tennant had the big Cyberman story, and so I picked that up. But I really liked that. But Pete Davidson's lovely outfit here. I do wish the Panama hat wasn't on there, but what are you going to do? At least he's not all tore up like in Caves of Androzani, so at the end. But a lovely figure, lots of fun. You can see the Doctor on the run going from place to place. Now the idea, or my idea, was to have maybe pick up a Tom Baker, and because their TARDISes were the same, they used the same model for the TARDIS. So maybe have one on one side and one on the other side. And like I say, I picked up the Marvel comics. Marvel finally made a Doctor Who magazine, a Doctor Who comic in America with reprints of all the British comics. And they got to the Pete Davison stuff that Dave Gibbons had drawn, which I really, really loved. And still have all of those. And I actually made it into my geek credentials is that I made it into Marvel's letters page for Doctor Who and Doctor Who number 8. So that's my claim to fame as far as my geek cred for Doctor Who. So that far back. But anyway, we have Pete, and we'll stand Pete up here. And we'll show you the TARDIS, because you would think it would be a little more than this, but it's really not. Okay, the door does open, so you can look inside, but a lot of people are very upset that you can't see inside the TARDIS. I have found online where you can print out a picture and stuff it in there. So I'm going to do the console room that Tom Baker and Peter Davison had. I'm going to try not to do the electronic control room he had. But anyway, when you want to close it back up, so you pop that in there, close it back up. You bring this door too with the police sign. You bring it back, it'll pop in there. And then there's a button on the floor, and you press it, and it closes the other side. Now, the bad thing about these, or the real bad thing about the whole, about that people are mad about, I guess is what I should say, is when you spin it around, you can see holes for a speaker and holes for a battery, and it does nothing. So they were too cheap to make another backing for this that would actually be right and be correct. I know a lot of people, model them over. They put like a milliput or something in them, fill them with caulking, and just totally redo that. But, come on, guys. What would it have took to mold yet one more wall and had that as your cheap range? But, what are you going to do? Anyway, I thought that was really, really bad and in bad taste. But I do like the paint job on it. It's really nice. It's got a nice wood look to it. At the time, it had the blue up here. It's kind of a brighter blue than some of the other TARDISes, and it had the blue indicator thing right here. Had the different little top of it. I will say in the packaging and the way it was packaged with Pete Davidson there, with the 5th Doctor, is that it had plain tape. Gluey, sticky tape wrapped around it twice to hold it in that little set, and that's idiotic. I mean, I've like I say, I had picked up some of the like a Cyberman and some other stuff with the David Tennant when David Tennant was the Doctor. And so I picked a couple of those up, and I picked up a K9 that just would not work. It was like a remote control K9. I paid like $50 for the thing, and it would not work. So I called the comic shop, and I'm like, this thing is trash. It will not work. And the guy at the comic shop, who I still hate for this today, said, well, the British make crap toys. He's pretty much right, but I'm sorry to say, but I mean, they could do better than this. I would like to get one of the flight control ones because apparently it has light and sound. You put it down, it dematerializes. You pick it up, it makes a materialization sound. If you hold this part, you can, and then the bottom, there's like a hole at the bottom so you can spin the TARDIS around as a little kid would. I would probably put a string on it if I was a little kid back in the day, but I'm just happy to have it on my shelf. That's really what I wanted. But I do need to pick up a Tom Baker, and the Tom Bakers are incredibly expensive. They like start at like $50. The one I actually want is the one just before he regenerated, and that one goes for $120. So it's really kind of weird how they gauge them. You know, it just seems like Tom Baker in the burgundy outfit, it'd be, you know, a deal. No, $120. So I've seen that on eBay. But anyway, I'm really happy with it because I've always wanted a TARDIS since 7th grade. And now I've got one. I've got Pete Davidson to stand with it, and I can carry on with my Doctor Who cred. Thank you so much for watching this and listening to all this craziness. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe down here at the bottom, and also hit the bell for notifications, and that way every time I do a video you'll hear about it. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day. Isn't that right, Doctor? That's very right. Cheerio. Okay. Brave heart, Tegan, brave heart.